One of the most corrupt things happening in the US right now is in the Federal Reserve. They reduced rates 46 days before the election, which I'm sorry, it's just not a coincidence. JD Vance was actually asked about this week. Here's his response.
Really quickly, just on the Fed cutting, it's a very Wall Street Journal-y question, but the Fed cut the interest rate today by 0.5 percentage point, going to alleviate inflation for a lot of people, and so if you have any reaction to that, we'd love it.
Well, look, my reaction is my reaction is a 0.5 point is nothing compared to what American families have been dealing with for the last 3 years. You know, when Donald Trump left office, a lot of Americans were getting 3-4% mortgages. Now they're getting 8% mortgages. A 0.5 point is not going to help those families a whole lot. It's better than nothing. But again, the reason why we have sky-high inflation, the reason why we have high interest rates is because Kamala Harris cast the deciding vote on the Inflation Explosion Act, and then she tried to do everything she could to shut down American energy. So Americans are suffering from this stuff, and the fact that the Fed is going to give them a little relief in the midst of an election, by the way, is nothing compared to the disaster that Kamala Harris's policies have caused in this country.
So JD is right about one thing, but he's actually wrong about another, and the Wall Street Journal reporter got it wrong too. I'm not really sure what they were saying, but I'll start with what he got right. He's right on the point that nothing right now is compared to what Trump had it at. And the reason that the rates were so low under Trump is generally the Fed raises the rates when they have to take, inflation under control, because those have kind of an inverse correlation to each other. But under Trump, inflation wasn't a problem at all because of the fact that he wasn't printing money in the beginning of his presidency like the Democrats are, as well as, unleashing our energy potential. Those are just a couple of reasons why he didn't have inflationary problems. So for that reason, the Fed could lower the rates. And so this narrative on the left that somehow the economy is great because it's slightly better from the super horrible place the Biden administration had it at is super laughable. It's super dumb. And I think JD Vance does a good job of kind of calling that out. People talking about how amazing inflation is right now. But here's the reality. Inflation compounds over time. And the other reality is our target, the Fed's target for inflation is at about 2%. And right now we're sitting between 2.5 and 3%. Now, we're so used to it being at like 8% that we hear 2.5%, 3%, and we're like, oh, that's good. But again, that's 25 to 50% worse than the target. So it's in no means is it in a good place. And just because it's falling does not mean that the damage that the Biden administration did regarding inflation wasn't already done. Here is what JD Vance got wrong, though. And this is, again, I don't know how he got it wrong. I don't know, because it's very basic economics. I don't know how the Wall Street Journal reporter got it wrong. Maybe he misspoke. But he says that lowering rates is going to help Americans and that it's going to provide them some inflationary relief. But like I just said, lowering rates does not lower inflation. It actually does the opposite. It raises inflation, which again raises the question, if we're not at our target inflation right now, why the heck is the Fed reducing rates? And there's a couple reasons for this. The first, obviously, is because we're 45 days out from the election. There's a lot of people out there that will say the Federal Reserve is just kind of this independent organization. They're not connected to the administration at all. But at the same time, if you truly believe that the Democrats haven't exerted all of their force and all of their persuasion on Jerome Powell to reduce rates right before the election, if you don't believe that, you're stupid. I'm sorry. Of course they did. And of course, Jerome Powell caved and did it. Now, that's one explanation. There is another explanation, and that is kind of that the job reports that the Biden administration came out with, this was news from a few weeks ago, but they said it was really good. It actually turned out to be really bad, which kind of points to the fact that we could be going into a recession. If that's true, reducing the rates could make sense. But what's so troubling about it is that Jerome Powell this whole time has said that he would not reduce rates probably until December after the election has taken place. And now suddenly he's done it 45 days before the election. So it really is weaponization of the Federal Reserve. The reason, just to go through this, I never want to be that guy to just get up there and just say something. I want to explain the reason why. The reason why lowering interest rates is going to keep us from going into a recession is because lowering interest rates makes it easier for banks to borrow against the Fed, which in turn makes it so companies can borrow money from banks, which in turn makes it so that they can have more jobs fulfilled. So that's the reason why that's happening. But at the end of the day, again, you're stupid if you think that the Fed wasn't influenced by the Biden-Kamala Harris administration, or really beyond the administration, the Democratic machine, which is something I've talked a lot about. Of course, they exerted all their power on them. And of course, people are going to look at this and see this as an economic win. I don't think it's an economic win. This is where I disagree with JD Vance. I think what we're going to see is it might keep us out of a recession. I think the job market will continue to be pretty mediocre. If any of you are out there looking for jobs right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's mass layoffs in several fields right now, especially some, high skill fields like in the tech industry. And then, of course, inflation is going to get worse. So if you're not happy right now with grocery store prices or with gas prices, they're going to go up, and they're probably going to go up by, this rate cut is going to bring it probably above 3% inflation, at least for a time. So I find that really concerning. And again, it points to the fact that Democrats will do anything for power. They will literally make inflation worse if it means staying in power. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please go down below, comment, like, and subscribe, and watch another video.